We're going to be speaking right now about the biggest threat that I think we're facing today. You can sum up that threat in 2 words. China. That's the President Trump pronunciation of that. China. And so a lot of people have been cheering on China's rise. Some people have been warning about it as well. We're joined by Brett Schaefer, who is the J. Kingham Fellow for International Regulatory Affairs at the Heritage Foundation. Brett is a former Pentagon official who worked on international criminal court policy, exposing China's growing influence within international groups like the UN, maybe like the WHO. And Brett's most recent op-ed published last week in the Washington Times took aim at the WHO for parroting Chinese communist propaganda on the coronavirus outbreak. You can find that op-ed and many others at heritage.org/coronavirus. Brett, thank you so much for being here.
I'm delighted to be on. Thanks for having me.
So, Brett, when I hear the World Health Organization, an organization I had not looked into very deeply before this pandemic, it seems totally innocuous, totally nice to me. World Health Organization. Who could possibly have a problem with the World Health Organization? And yet it seems to me now there's something sort of rotten going on at that institution. What's the problem here?
Well, many international organizations, the member states. So it has 193 member states as a part of it. The United States is one out of those 193. And we're one vote out of that total. And so, well, we may have a certain focus that we would like the organization to be dedicating most of its resources to, whether that's international communicable diseases or combating pandemics. Other countries have their own priorities for that organization, and frequently they are able to exert those priorities through sheer numbers, even though we are the largest contributor to the organization.
So we're giving a lot of money. I think last year we gave something like $450 million to the organization. Is that right? Mm-hmm. And China gave about an order of magnitude less than that. And yet it looks like China is exerting a lot of influence on the WHO. What specifically has China done to take over the WHO?
Well, it's an interesting question. You're right about the numbers. The World Health Organization operates on a 2-year budget. The United States, over those 2 years, gave $893 million, and China gave $86 million. So it is, you're right, it's an order of magnitude. China is giving about a tenth of what the United States gives. Where China has been able to exert significant amount of influence over is its robust support of the current Director General in the election process back in 2017. China was instrumental in guiding him through the process, and its support was instrumental in getting him into the position that he's in. Now, does that mean that he should not be an impartial international civil servant and conduct his duties in an impartial way? Absolutely not. Unfortunately, what we've seen over the past several months is a willingness by the Director General of the World Health Organization and the organization itself, through its statements, to take Chinese statements at face value, even though there is an enormous amount of reasons to doubt the veracity or the transparency of the Chinese government in reporting these data. And it's not just this current situation that we're making those assumptions based on. It's also its previous pandemics and its response to those pandemics. If you look at its response to SARS, the Chinese government obfuscated and concealed data for months, allowing hundreds of people to die, and it was not forthright with the World Health Organization during that outbreak. So the fact that the World Health Organization is willing to take Chinese statements at such face value this time is just frankly mysterious and shocking, because we already know that China has a record of not being honest.
Right. It really drives me crazy. You know, we've got just a couple minutes, but I guess I want to know what would keep us continuing to fund this organization. Obviously, the United States just suffered a big economic problem. We've got now something like 16 or 17 million people out of work over the past few weeks. Why on earth are we shoveling our money over to this organization that's parroting Chinese propaganda?
The United States and many other developed countries have the capacity to address these types of international pandemics, but even as our own experience is showing, it can strain us to the limits. Now, imagine you're a developing country, and with your much less sophisticated health systems, your much less sophisticated government, and the resources that are much more limited in addressing these types of crises, you depend on something like the World Health Organization to assist you. And for something like this, an international pandemic, it doesn't stay within national borders. And so we need to work with the World Health Organization and support it so that those countries that can't address this problem themselves do have an instrument internationally to help them deal with it. Does that mean that the World Health Organization is actually focusing its resources where it should? Absolutely not. In fact, only about 15% of the resources of the organization are dedicated to combating international pandemics or helping countries bolster their own health systems to do that.
Wait, hold on. So I want to focus on that for just a second. Just 15% of all that money that goes over to the WHO is actually going to deal with these public health problems. Sounds like they've got a little bit of overhead. Where's the other 85% going?
There's a lot of it. I mean, they spend more on corporate services and enabling functions than they do on its own health emergency program.
Wow.
And if your listeners want to look at this, they can go to the World Health Organization website, and they have a budget page that breaks down where their priorities are, and you can click through it and find out where all this information is.
Wow. Well, I would definitely...
The organization, it's fairly transparent.
Yeah, I would definitely encourage my listeners to go over there right now. I mean, this is something you're not hearing in the mainstream media, who are relentlessly defending the WHO. The WHO obviously defending China. I would recommend people go over there to the WHO. I also recommend people go out and read Brett's op-ed. Unfortunately, we are up against a wall, but Brett, I want to thank you so much. It's Brett Schaefer. You can find him at heritage.org. Thank you so much, Brett. We'll have to have you back to talk about more of this because I don't think the problem is going anywhere. We have got a lot